Hey all, welcome back. It's Matthew back with another episode of Watty's channel, and I'm finally able to dive right back into one of my favorite videos to make, which is of course the Q&A video. So several episodes ago, I think it was like episode 72 if I'm not mistaken, I mentioned towards the end of the video that hey, I've been dying to make another Q&A video. That was supposed to be one of those series that were supposed to be ongoing, at least one video a week or so. Unfortunately, I hadn't really gotten any new questions in, so I really couldn't do a Q&A for the fans, for the subscribers or other viewers of the channel. So one of the new subscribers, Bucky749, he left some amazing questions for me, and I've been holding off making this video for the simple fact that I make so many videos in a given day, over several course of several days maybe, so I kind of like to keep those videos in queue. So that's the reason why I haven't been able to post this video in a while or make this video. Good thing is today is the 7th of August, so tomorrow Monday I'll be able to post this video. And for me, a lot of times when I make these videos, as you guys know, you're looking at anywhere between a week to 3 weeks later before you finally see it. So it's nice to finally be able to make a video and not only be able to post it, as soon as possible, but within a good, 24-hour turnaround time. So we will dive right into the Q&A of this video. I'm not expecting a huge 50-minute video like we had our last video. It was an XX Customs video, so those normally go pretty long, and I think a lot of people get enjoyment from those either way. So diving right into the first question that Bucky submitted was the first wrestling figure, meaning my first wrestling figure that I ever had. So it's really difficult for me to think back that far. My memory obviously isn't all that great. I don't know, because like my brothers and I, my mom, she never actually bought us kids, toys for each individual person. We basically all shared the same toys and whatnot. So it's really hard to think back as to what we had originally. What was our first figure of all time? Like something that kind of like stands out that I'm very familiar with, Hasbro Series 4. We had Bret Hart. We had The Undertaker. We had who else is in Series 4? British Bulldog. But, we didn't have Steamboat. We didn't have the Legion of Doom or the Nasty Boys. I mean, those two tag teams would have been amazing to have. So I don't think we had anything from Series 3. We had quite a few figures from Series 1 and 2, of course. We had the normal run-of-the-mill figures. Your green-suited $1 Million Man from Series 2. We had Duggan. We had Honky Tonk Man. We had, see what else we had. We have had both Series 1 and 2 Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan figures. So it's difficult to kind of like rehash as far as what was the very first figure we acquired. Obviously we had Galoobs as well. I kind of treated Galoob kind of like the across the 8 Mile type of, across the railroad tracks type of figures. I mentioned before, Hasbro, they were like, Beverly Hills figures you'd find in Toys R Us, and Galoob figures were like the ones that you'd go into a dollar store and find. They just weren't valued as highly, and for good reason. But more modern, more recently, I'll give a more. So when I started the LJN tournament, when I started the LJN collecting, one of the very first figures I ever acquired, or the very first figure, was the Nikolai Volkov figure. And, it's just a very simple figure. And, I, kind of like watched the series on Netflix just like a lot of people did. And I thought that, hey, I wasn't familiar with these type of figures. I was born in 85, so I never knew about LJN, the 8-inch figures or anything like that. So a lot of the collections that I have now are pretty much brand new to me. So, and I mentioned it before, when I got the Nikolai Volkov, I held it in my hand, and it was such a great figure. I'm like, you know what, this is super awesome. And I think I bought it for like $10. I think purchase price $10, shipping $10. So, I paid $20 for it. And I listed it for like $42, only because, I looked at it, I'm like, I'm not going to sell this. I want to keep this so bad. And I do that sometimes. I might put list it just for the sake of having it up. List it for an insane price. If somebody wants to pay that price, why not? I kind of do that with like my Yokozuna custom Hasbro figure. I don't want to sell it at all, but I put it up just for the sake of argument because, again, if somebody wants to pay $350, why not? Imagine all the different customs and different figures I could buy with that money. So I do put up like my I do not want to sell price. Alright, so next question here. Favorite werewolf movie? This right here was actually my favorite question among the lot of questions I received. And one of the reasons I held off on making this video, one of the other reasons, is because I didn't have a certain movie to show. As you guys know, I don't know how to do inserts or pop-ups in the actual videos, so I like to hold physical media, physical figures, something up to the camera. That way you guys can see what I'm talking about. So favorite werewolf movie, you could go with the easy one, the common, the obvious one, which is the American Werewolf in London movie. And for the longest time, American Werewolf in London, easily the greatest werewolf movie of all time. There are a few movies that I figure you could really put in any, sort of, if you want to put it number 1, 2, 3, mix them up, there really isn't a wrong answer. I recently acquired this just for the sake of it. American Werewolf in Paris, absolute garbage. The CGI in Paris it wasn't a bad movie. It just, the CGI for the werewolf was horrible. And when you look at American Werewolf in London, easily the greatest werewolf transformation scene ever. You're not going to come across it again. John Landis, he did the whole Thriller Michael Jackson video with the werewolf transformation. So the man just has so much skill. Howling, obviously, another great transformation movie. And the whole Howling series. I think it really gets bad after number 3. Number 2, not a lot of people care about that, the sister movie. But the original Howling movie, incredible. And in the last, 10 years ago or so, I saw this movie for the first time. Dog Soldiers. So this is kind of like a Scottish special forces team. They're out in the field doing a field exercise when they're attacked by a werewolf, and they get held up in a countryside barn, family house, and they're surrounded by werewolves. And to me, a good werewolf movie has to be a legitimate type of werewolf. You take crap like Twilight, True Blood, Wolf Lake, Vampire Diaries, those type of movies and shows, those aren't, in my opinion, werewolves. You can call them, skinwalkers, you can call them shapeshifters, but I wouldn't call them werewolves. To me, you have a certain type of werewolf, and Underworld, another great one where you find really solid werewolves. So right now, if I had to guess, or if I had to give an answer, I would say that Dog Soldiers comes down as my all-time favorite werewolf movie. With American Werewolf in London being a close second and Howling at number 3. But again, you could have a million different people, and a million different people can put them in any lot they want. They're all 3 of them are spectacular. There really isn't a wrong answer when it comes to those type of werewolf movies. Sadly enough, the werewolf genre is probably one of my favorites, and you got a million different vampire movies, but to find an actually really solid werewolf movie is so hard to come by. And even when you've got like college level kids making their little B-rated movies or B movies, it's just not the same. And even those are very few and far between. All right, so number 3. This one, I really can't answer this, but who would win a wrestling match, Kamala versus Lando from Star Wars? Star Wars, I've never been a fan of Star Wars. I've never been a fan of Star Trek. So, yeah, I've seen the first few movies of the Star Wars franchise. I think everyone has at some point in their lives. As much as I love sci-fi, those movies just never did it for me. So, I do know, obviously, the Lando character. I don't know. I just remember him dressing up in Han Solo's clothes after the man was frozen solid. But Kamala, you're talking about a 400 pound man. Excuse me, 400 pound man versus a, I don't know who Lando was, or what. So I really can't answer that question. So for the sake of this, I'm gonna say Kamala hands down. What LJN did you have the hardest time finding as a kid that you have now? Again, never had LJNs as a kid. Everything that I've acquired has come up in the last year, last 10 months maybe. So I'm trying to think. I started my new eBay account in August of 21, and once I started making some sales and doing, not great, but pretty well, I would say. That's when I really started getting back into actually buying things for myself. So I would probably say September, maybe October is when I started buying collectibles and what have you. And I mentioned LJN wise, the Nikolai Volkov was the very first figure I ever bought. So the hardest figure I had trouble finding. The easy answer is to go in and say Blackheart Series 6 figures, but I just pretty much scrapped getting the originals, just went through random treasures for all of those. Then there was guys like, Bam Bam Bigelow, Series 2, Andre the Giant. I went through, or the referee, I went through random treasures to acquire those figures. And of course, later on, I went back and actually got the originals anyways. And I've probably gotten several Series 2 Andres. So the hardest one, it's tough, but I'd probably say maybe Strike Force would be, both the figures were probably the hardest to come across. I used to bid on like Ted DiBiase a lot. Used to lose out on auctions like crazy. And since then, I probably acquired that figure probably 5 or 6 times, the original figure. And, I put them in different lots and sell them as a group. Heart Foundation, there was a period over the course of like a month where I bought the Heart Foundation probably a handful of times and starting up a nice little monopoly of those figures. And, I've sold a couple, put up others on auctions, or they didn't really sell. Put them in lots with other figures, so they're just up there right now. And then you got something that's not very well loved, characters aren't very well loved, such as Adrian Adonis, Hillbilly, not Hillbilly Jim, Billy Jack Haynes is another great one, one of my favorites. And those figures actually become a whole lot harder. Outback Jack, I mentioned I like to have duplicates of all my figures, and those figures, you don't want to go out and spend $100 on an Outback Jack figure when you've already have one figure of him. So when I'm buying it as simply a duplicate, I kind of hold off on trying to spend $60, $70. And I think I got a couple of these figures I lucked out. Like the Adonis, I got like 22, 25, something like that, purchase price. But the seller came down on that because he had like missing fingers or something. But it's a spare. It's not anything that has to be perfect mint condition. But I think those are some of the more difficult figures for me to acquire over time. Favorite Frankenstein movie as a kid and favorite now. Frankenstein movie. If I had to say right now, the actor, I can't remember his name, but he played the attorney in the Batman movies. There's a movie he starred in, I think 2014, if I had to guess, called I Frankenstein. To me, I think that's an absolutely amazing movie. As a kid, I mean, there's you could pretty much put this list, of any big screen monster, but the Monster Squad, one of the greatest movies of the 1980s, one of my all-time favorite movies growing up, and you know what? The Monster Squad, it could be 20, 30 years later, 40 years later, 50, it don't matter. That movie will hold over the test of time. It's just an absolute movie. Great, fantastic movie. Now, because it's not simply only about Frankenstein, can I really, put it in this conversation? I for the sake of argument, I will. And that is, unfortunately, the last of these particular questions. So there are a couple different questions that were asked of me recently, but we're at about just shy of 15 minutes right now. So I think this is a good time to put a hold on this particular video, and that way I'll have those questions set aside, and the next time I make this video, we'll be able to go, have additional questions. That way I don't have to wait 3 months or so to make another one of these videos. Again, Bucky749, thank you so much, brother, for the questions. It's been a lot of fun to make this type of video, and I'm glad I was able to hopefully meet some of your questions. And so I am going to be making some more specialty videos. I got some more amazing figures from Robert Jackson, so I'm going to do another specialty video for his figures. There are several figures from Stinger GQ that I'm waiting on as well. So once those come in, I'm going to start probably make like a ton of videos in one day. Macho Man. I'm not going to do the Ultimate Warrior because I did the Ultimate Warrior review for the new Random Treasures, and because I included that Ultimate Warrior with the other Ultimate Warriors I owned, I'm going to consider that part of the series, so I'm not going to do that again. So I'm going to do Macho Man. I'm going to include Elizabeth because you can't have Macho Man without Elizabeth. That's just crazy. I'm going to do both Series 1 and later Series 5 Hulk Hogan, and we got a ton of Honky Tonk Man, just kind of looking around. We got a ton of Bruce Beefcake, ton of Roddy Piper. So those little comparable LJNs video series that I've started, where we look at both original and custom figures, those are going to be on the itinerary as well in coming weeks. So I'm trying not to wait every 4 or 5 days. I'm trying to do videos every 3 days now, so that way you're not waiting as long to get new content in. And it still allows the analytics to go through and hopefully meet new people, or great new people pop up on their feed, pop on their channels, however it works. Well, I'm going to end the video right here, guys. Again, as always, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. And please leave questions. I would love to be able to include your questions in my next Q&A video. Thanks again, everyone. Talk to you soon. And goodbye for now.